Now, renowned American civil rights leader Rev Jackson has lauded Kenya for the smooth handover of power following the elections last month. Rev Jackson, who witnessed the swearing-in of President Uhuru Kenyatta, also says the world cannot afford to judge Kenya by one set of standards and live by another. KTN senior anchor Kiguta sat down with a U.S. politician to discuss reforms and democracy in our continent, Africa.
What is your take on the progress Kenya has made in instituting reforms since you were last here as a special envoy for the Clinton administration?
There are several things I'm impressed with. One, that the Rift Valley violence we were addressing at that time subsided. It seems the violence of the 2007 season is now behind us. You've just had a world-class election, world-class reforms. I saw on the stage this past week 3 living presidents, and you saw an orderly transition of power, which is what democracy actually looks like. Kenyans are such bright people, and what we need is the opportunity for our brilliance to shine, and with nutrition and computers and wiping out poverty, the brilliance can shine.
In your opinion, is Kenya doing enough to bring to an end ethnic and political violence?
Yes, it's moving in that direction. The fact that you were able to have an open, free, fair, and democratic election by all world standards. In fact, you now have a world-class constitution moving in that direction. We must see Kenya through a door and not through a keyhole. I met with President Kenyatta already and Mr. Ruto yesterday, Deputy President. Met with Mr. Dingle last night. They've begun to communicate, and that constructive engagement, they're coming together, is good for all of Kenya. I hope the whole world will recognize that there's real progress taking place in Kenya.
Is there unanimity on how to engage with Kenya, or are pundits right that the ICC question presents a peculiar case in how to deal with this country?
Well, the ICC case is a matter that is beyond this election. And the U.S. government is, of course, very aware of that case, and its outcome will determine some things. But at this point, that's all speculation. You know, I'm concerned that nations hold up the world standards, live by those world standards. The Bible says, judge not, lest ye be judged. So those who want to use world standards themselves should comply with world standards. We really should make the world better by having one set of rules.
Do you feel there are different rules for different players? Yoweri Museveni, the Ugandan president, basically accused the ICC of using its powers to impose leaders on Africa.
Well, there are some of the stronger nations who are not members of The Hague, of the U.S. and France and China, but they often use the Hague standards. I think all of us should accept one set of rules. When Kenya runs in the big global long-distance races, Kenya can win because it's the same distance for all runners. Part of our shared mission must be to play the game of political development by one set of rules.
So how do we make it practical? Should the U.S. also be a signatory to the Rome Statute? If they're not, is the ICC still relevant?
Well, I'm convinced it's relevant, but I think that it's only relevant if all those who make judgments upon it are judged by it. I do not want to desecrate the role of the ICC, its role in the world, but I do think that there's an excitement in Kenya about new possibilities, and I hope that those new possibilities are embraced.
What is your take on democracy in Africa?
Africa is becoming increasingly democratic. I mean, from South Africa now to Kenya, to Senegal, to Tanzania, we see increasingly signs that democracy is taking root and maturity. Kenya is 50 years old. America, after 246 years, we're still buying and selling people as slaves. After 350 years, blacks still didn't have the right to vote. Blacks in America, we've just had the right to vote for 48 years, since 1965. But in 1965, 340 years later, blacks couldn't vote, white women couldn't serve on juries, 18-year-olds couldn't vote. Kenya is 50 years in running world-class democracies. Kenya's far ahead of the game in terms of what happened in, say, say, Britain and the U.S. after 50 years.
Thank you so much for speaking to us.